Welcome to In the Zone. I'm Craig Zimmerman, and with me today in number 26 of In the Zone is a high school educator and retired coach, Dave Osterland. Welcome, Dave.
Thanks, Craig.
Now,
Thanks for having me.
You and I have gone way back in the family, actually, so we'll talk about that a little later.
Okay.
As I've said in many of these occasions, if we see anything that doesn't go right, we can have Paul
take care of it.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, you were born and raised in the area. Tell us about where you were born and raised, what street you grew up on, and your brothers and your mom and dad. And
born and raised in Marine City,
Yep.
on Washington Street. Spent my whole actually they sold the house after I was gone.
Yep.
My parents were born and raised in the Marine City area. I have two brothers. They're still local.
Yep.
And I've been here. I did, obviously when I went away to college, was gone. But I had a house in Clinton Township for 10 years and got married to my wife Chris, and we had kids and kind of ventured back to Marine City, and we live in China Township now. So I've always been part of the area. Yes.
Yep. So your mother and father, Mel
and Lois. Yep.
Okay.
They both were grew up. Obviously, like I said, grew up here. My mom passed away 6 years ago. My dad 4 years ago.
Yep.
Yep.
So you grew up in town, and you went, but you didn't go to Marine City High. You went to Holy Cross.
Went to Marine City Holy Cross. Yep.
And so back then, Dwayne's the oldest, you're the middle,
Yep. We're about
Dean's the youngest.
22 months apart, somewhere right in
Yep.
there. Yep.
Okay.
All of us. Yep.
And
83, 84, and 87. So there's a little bit
okay.
more in that, and between me and Dean.
In case anybody would need to know, I'll explain our relationship.
Okay.
Your grandmother and my grandmother were sisters.
Yes.
So that's
So our mothers were first cousins. Yep.
So you went to Holy Cross. Who was your football coach back then?
Mike Egan. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know he was.
Yeah, Mike
what,
Egan.
then?
Yes.
And Pat was before.
Pat was before me. There was one, I guess my freshman year at Lingenfelter. Do you remember that name?
I've heard the name.
I can't remember his first name. He was there, and then Mike Egan took over after that.
Okay.
Yes.
So now you went away to college,
Yep.
and you played football?
At Olivet College, yes.
Is there another suspect, we'll call him, that played with you?
Yeah, there's a couple of them. Steve Scheinweber and I, we roomed together at Olivet, and then Todd Hanley
I'm
also.
sorry about that, by the
Yes.
way.
Todd Hanley also went out there, and his brother Brock came for a little bit. My brother Dean actually did a stint out there for 1 year. Yep.
Oh my gosh, I wish we had some video of those. those
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Those guys. They're interesting when you see them on a weekend downtown Marine City even,
Yeah.
So you went to Olivet and you played football.
I did 4 years there.
What did you play?
I played defensive line, tackle. Yep.
Okay. Is that what you played in high school?
At Holy Cross, we played both sides of the ball, yes. You remember at Holy Cross, like from freshman year on, you are on varsity.
Right.
There was only two of us, I think, that played all 4 years at Holy Cross.
What did the
in
other
my
guys
class.
play?
What do you mean the other guys?
The other guys that we talked about.
Oh, Stevie?
Yeah.
Scheinweber? He played defensive line with me. Yep, he was on the defense. Todd was a linebacker at Olivet. Yep.
Okay. So you played closely with those guys.
Yep, very close, yep.
Now, Olivet plays who on their schedule in general?
Adrian, Alma,
Yep.
Albion, Kalamazoo,
Okay.
Hope.
Okay.
Now they have Trine, and we never played Trine. That's a new Trine, and I think there's one more in there now. Yep.
So how
It's
many?
the MIAA.
Okay. How many years did you play there?
4 years. Yep,
Okay.
about 4 years.
Okay. And when you were done with your 4 years, did you know you were done?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I knew going in what was what my talent level obviously was, but yeah, I enjoyed it, had fun, no regrets on it, but
Sure.
I knew it was time to
Well-
start thinking about what you're going to do.
There aren't many humans that played 4 years of a college sport
Yep.
anywhere, really,
Yep.
for that matter. So you go to Olivet, you graduate in 4 or 5 years.
4 years there, and I had a couple classes I had to take. I took them at Macomb to finish up. So I finished in the spring of '88, and then in the fall of '88, I took a couple classes at Macomb. Did my student teaching at Chippewa Valley High School in the fall of, or the winter of, or January '89, and then the rest is history. I did that, and then I started coaching right after that. Bob Schroeder had become the head coach at Chippewa Valley, so that next fall I started coaching at Chippewa Valley.
Okay, so what led you into teaching?
I'll be honest, at the time I didn't know what I was going to do. I went to school. I remember my dad saying, just go, you need to get out of here, you need to figure things out. When I got there, I just started thinking about teaching and just kind of started gravitating that way towards it, and that's where I went.
So you were at Chippewa Valley, you were assistant varsity coach?
Nope, I was JV coach, and then myself and actually Jeff LePerriere, who's the principal now at Anchor Bay,
Okay.
him and I were the co-head coaches of the JV team there. I did that for 5 years. So in the time I'm looking for a teaching job, thinking, get my foot in here
Right.
somewhere, and I so 89 and 90, I was substitute teaching. I sub 130 days each year from Marine City to Macomb County. I was just trying to get my feet in everywhere, and wound up doing that for 2 years. And I wound up, actually, it was a kid I coached. His dad was an assistant principal at Lakeshore School District, and that's how I wound up my little connection to get in there. And I got an interview in the fall of '91 in St. Clair Shores for Lakeshore District, and I've been there ever since, in the same building ever since.
Same building since '91?
Yeah.
Okay.
31 years.
Okay.
It's hard to believe, isn't it?
Now, as another coach that we know says, it's this other coach that I'm going to say prides on the fact that he doesn't have to get dressed up to go to school. Are you one of those guys?
Yeah, that's pretty much what I wear.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's funny because they always give the PE teachers give them the business about it. And I said, hey, just because I was smart enough to know what I was doing when I was in school and get paid the same as you,
Right, exactly.
don't take it out on me. So
Okay, so you teach elementary.
PE.
Okay. Okay. So what year did you come back to Marine City to coach?
2007 was my first. In 2006, I was kind of helping on game days, just on the sideline. Then in 2007, Matt Pollock finally, he had been on me about helping out, and then I finally said, okay, I'm in. So that first year obviously came in a great year, and 2007 was coaching the defensive line, and I've been there ever since. So
Okay. So you learned now I've interviewed about 8 or 10 coaches, and we've talked about different positions and different coaching. As a defensive line coach, you're teaching different than an offensive line, obviously. Defensive line is blocking.
Yeah.
So what's the root basics of defensive line?
We play one gap. We don't have big, strong kids. They're one gap. They got to control that gap, win that gap. And obviously you've seen our D line. We're on the small side.
Yep.
Quickness, fighting pressure with pressure. You have to realize where they're trying to block you. We do a lot of. And it's always been, if you're thinking, you're stinking. It can't be a thinking. It's got to be. You got to. I always start which way their head goes. Where they're blocking. You got to fight through, and so it's just a lot of reaction to what they're doing, and it's got to be repetition over and over and over to.
Now, would you say it's the quickness that makes the biggest difference in the fact that we're usually undersized?
That, and I think some of our kids have a chip on their shoulder because they're a little small, and some of them realize if they didn't play there, they're not playing anywhere else. I'll give you an example. Jaden Heslip was playing with the defensive backs, and wasn't seeing any time. And I remember that came up, and he's like, I'll go there. I don't care, And he's kind of got a little chip on his shoulder, and he next thing you know, he's down there, and he's an all-league defensive lineman, and actually had a very good career down there. So I've always said I'll take a 165-pound kid that can move, and he's quick, than a 280-pound kid that's a slug that can't move. That's the way I always looked at it.
Right. Oh, yeah, I mean, Craig, you go back 20, 25 years and you look at the size of the difference of these kids, like you say, 100. I'll bet there's been some below 165.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Danny's Wayne.
Yeah. You see these kids on the street or in the hallway, and you go,
I know, people do that all the time. He plays what? He's a defensive lineman.
Well, you must hear that in your, I'll call it, day job as a coach in Macomb County. You must hear that from time to time.
I do, and being in the Lakeshore District, we've played them, and one guy made a comment, I can't believe we're playing Marine City. And I'm like, what do you mean? You guys have more than double the amount that we have. You shouldn't be playing us, but not from that factor. You should be way better than us. And they have this, they think we have these big, strong, physical kids. They are strong and they're physical, but they're not huge. We do it, by them being smart and being coached well, and they work their tails off, and they become very good at it.
Okay.
And the other difference, and I always tell them down there, our kids play together
from
4th grade on all the way through. And a lot of those schools down, these kids come in ninth grade, and
Right.
they
Come and they
yeah,
go,
and
come and they go.
our kids have been together the whole time. That's a huge difference.
Yeah, from junior football all the way through. Being that you've been involved in, say, teaching, coaching for this many years, give me some of your mentors' names.
Well, obviously, when I started out, Tony was coaching there, and kind of, and the great thing about Tony was he just let me do my
what you
thing.
wanted.
Yeah, let me be. And then obviously Ron took over, and Darren's there now. And, Matt Pollock's the one that really kind of got me going there. And he had coached D-line before. So, I mean, I had a pretty good idea what I was doing, but not per se what actually we needed to do. It didn't take me long to figure it out. And with Matt's help, he actually
Right.
told, he left it with, this is how I did a lot of things, and let me change whatever I wanted. But, all those guys were great about just letting us learn
Do
as
what you do.
do what we do, and had confidence in us.
Right. Oh, when you look at the success over the years, it's it doesn't look as difficult, mainly because A, you've got continuity among coaches, B, you've got head coaches and coordinators that let the coaches coach,
Yeah.
and C, that the big thing you talked about earlier, the kids growing up in the system and coming all the way through. So you get a 10th grader that already has sort of an idea what's going on, because the JV or the 9th grade, whatever it may be, is running the same thing. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Is it more difficult or less difficult today with the spread offenses as a defensive coach?
Well, from our standpoint, the defensive line, yeah, we in the beginning we all, obviously we saw a lot of trapping. We saw, not spread. Let's put it that
Right.
way. Now, like sometimes we go in the first 3 games, we're just running spread.
Spread,
So
right.
from a defensive line standpoint, we'd have 2 guys instead of 3, because we take one out, bring an extra DB in. But and some of that, I think, with our smaller guys, that's helped us a little bit with the spread. We're a little quicker on pass rush,
Right.
but it creates its challenges.
Okay. Any defining moments as a high school coach?
Well, obviously, state championships. You get there. I was fortunate enough to coach in 4 of them and win 2. And how many people can say they've done it once? And
Right.
my principal, who used to coach at Lakeview, he's just, we talk football all
Yeah.
the time. And he's just amazed at what we've done up there. And he goes, you don't realize how lucky you are.
Right.
He goes, I did it for 8 years and
Never
had
got
one
this.
playoff
Right.
game.
Right.
So I go, I do realize it's just. Especially when you sit back and think about it, it's like, wow, it's pretty impressive.
Right. And then you've got another job that you do, I'm going to say summer, but you do it different times year-round?
Year-round, yeah.
Mm.
Well, I used to be a driver's training teacher, did that for years in the summer. Now I'm a state road test examiner, so it's adults and kids come in their final phase when they want to get their license. So, and as I always tell kids, this isn't a driving lesson, it's a driving test.
Right.
So they can't ask me, can I do this? I need to see that you know what to do. So I do that. I mean, I do a lot of it, actually. So, and I do that down in Mount Clemens, Harrison Townsboro at St. Louis Church on the corner of Crocker and
Oh, I know,
Harper.
yep.
That's where
Okay.
we work out of right there.
And so you go through the parallel parking.
There's a stop line. They have to back into a parking spot, and then they also have to parallel park.
Okay.
That's called the basic control skills. After that, they're on the road.
Is teaching that, or I don't know if you say teaching, because you're not really teaching at that point. You're going through a test. Is it easier or harder than the actual teaching of it?
No. It's harder in this fact that I'm in their car with no brake, so that's the part that's a little
Okay.
bit harder at time. But for the most part, I mean, I always try to get a feel for how much they've driven, because if they're over 18, they don't have to take driver's training. They can go take a
Okay.
test, get a permit, and then they're in there testing with me. But so it gets a little dicey at times. I try to remain calm. If I stay calm, they're usually calm. But
You try to break the ice and get them to calm down?
yeah, I do.
Because
and
there's some methodology to that,
there is, yes.
especially with them coming in being nervous about it.
Yeah, and they're very nervous about it. Even I've had 50-year-old people come in, they're still nervous, getting their license.
I'm assuming that you have some immigrants because
Yes.
they're coming from foreign countries
Yeah.
and getting their license?
We have that quite a bit, and so they can have a translator.
Okay.
And the hard part there is they can translate and tell them what I'm saying, but they're not
You-
supposed to be telling them what to do.
And you
but
can't-
I don't know. No, so I'm
They're speaking
it's-
Polish or
yeah.
whatever they're speaking, you don't know what they're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me throw this curveball out there. How many on an average week do you do, if you were to say?
Sometimes I've done 40 in a week. Sometimes I've done, I did 6 this morning before I came here.
Okay.
And I think I did 28 last week, so
When you're done with the test, do they know whether they passed or failed?
yes.
Okay.
But you don't tell them on the road if they've passed,
Right.
even if you're doing it. You wait till you get back, because
So how is that from a human perspective?
it's difficult.
Right.
I always tell them it's the worst part about my job.
Right.
I don't like telling people that they fail, but I also, and these guidelines are set up by the state of Michigan,
Sure.
so that's how we score it. And I've had to fail people that I know, and
Okay.
they're kids, and it's tough. But I also have a conscience, and I'm not going to send somebody out there that,
Right.
And to fail, it's something like running a red light or almost causing an accident or turning the wrong way down the road or things like that. But
Which are
so-
huge things.
yes, they're huge things.
Okay. There's another thing that you've got going on that's a hobby.
Yeah.
Now, there aren't many people that have this hobby, but, a few here and there. So you're a beekeeper.
I'm a beekeeper, yep. And we were talking a little bit before. A buddy of mine in college started doing it, and he kind of talked me into doing it. And I knew nothing about it at all. I mean, I didn't have a bee suit, which is a huge mistake.
Tell us about
I
that.
learned that the hard way. I just had a hood over, and I think I had like a snowmobile helmet or something. They got up in there. It was a mess. It wasn't good. So I now obviously have a suit, but I only wear a half. I just wear jeans. They don't really bother me there. Just a suit with a hood and a veil and zipped up, and then you use smoke. Smoke calms them. So it's usually burlap. You burn it,
Right.
and the smoke kind of calms them, which makes a big difference. But
So now, are these bees in a confined space? I've seen beehives out in the middle of a field
they're at a
before.
beehive, but they can leave and go as they can.
So they're out
yeah,
in the
yes.
middle of, I'll
Yep.
call it nature, in the
Yep.
middle of a field or
Yep,
whatever.
exactly.
And so, tell us about the process. You build a...
Well, usually you buy the bees.
Okay.
And, and it comes with a queen, and obviously the queen runs the whole show there, and she's laying eggs all
Isn't
day
that
long.
true everywhere?
Yes, it is. When you think about it, so she can lay up to 2,000 eggs a day. So they're constantly, they basically work themselves to death. Their life cycle is not very long. Like every 21 days, bees are hatching, and the next ones are getting eaten by birds, getting run over by lawnmowers. Just so it's a process. And usually, we haven't had great success. We're having a hard time getting them to survive the winter. And so I think a lot of people around here do. A guy we know lived in the UP. He lives here now. He said he never lost them in the UP, meaning they lived. But I think it's the fluctuating
The up and down,
temperature.
the up and down.
Yeah. So
So
We-
these are honeybees.
they're honeybees. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is the mechanism that you build?
Well, it's called a hive box.
Okay.
And inside there's these frames that pull out.
Yep.
And that's what the bottom one is where they put their eggs, and it's called brood, and that's where everything goes. The top ones are where they put the honey.
Okay.
And then, obviously, as they make honey, we take it.
How often would that be? Roughly?
Well, usually, sometimes once, sometimes so. We're going to do twice. We did some the other day. We spun honey on Sunday. Actually, I had 11 hours doing it. So,
Okay.
and then hopefully the first part of August there, which I've never been able to do before. I've always been a little bit later. So 2 if you're lucky.
Two per season? Then?
Yes, if you're lucky. Sometimes 1, sometimes none, depending on
So in this colony of bees, how much
honey.
honey do you get? Yeah.
We did like 18 gallons of honey the other day that we spun.
Okay.
That was from,
Explain the spinning.
okay, well, it's a frame with the honeycomb on it, and
Right.
they put a wax cap over. You got to cut that cap off.
Yep.
You put this frame in a spinning device, and it spins it around.
Yep.
Centrifugal force pulls it out,
Oh.
and you flip it, and it's in there. Yeah.
Okay. So then that is pure honey,
Pure honey.
and you eat it like that?
Yeah, you run it through a strainer. We have 2 sets of strainers, but yeah, we don't. It's unpasteurized, so
Right.
it's not. It's organic honey, basically. Yeah, so right from there.
Okay. And what are you doing with that?
We sell some of it. We use it. We haven't been real good at making money off it. That's the thing.
It's a hobby.
Yeah, and we want to get to the point where we're not spending money.
Sure.
So.
Okay. So you'll do that again in August?
Yep.
Okay.
Hopefully, like this first or second week in August, we're gonna try. And then you need to let them have time to get ready for the winter, because they need honey in there for themselves too. So you never take it all.
How many bees roughly do you have in a hive?
Well, when you buy a package of honeys, there might be 3,000-4,000 in there. They said in a strong hive in the middle of summer could be 50 to 80,000 bees in there. So
Okay. And so, is there any methodology as to bees will stick there and stay there, or bees will go off?
They swarm. If it gets full in there, they swarm. They'll take off. You ever see in the tree? Sometimes it'll be a big ball.
Yes.
It's a swarm, and it's crazy with beekeepers. And I'm not very knowledgeable compared to some people, but they all have their own little theory on how to do things. And you can talk to 5 different ones,
Just 5 different.
and they have all a different way to do it. So we're kind of trial and error, and seems like more error than anything.
Well,
lately.
but with time you'll get better at
Yeah.
it and do it more and more. So, wife doesn't mind it.
No, not at all. My kids and my wife were a little leery about having them around the house, but I think I have less other bees around my house since I've had.
Because of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if that's true or
True
not.
or not, but it
yeah.
seems like it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so that's going to be one of your hobbies to carry you into
Yeah.
retirement, if you will.
Little hobby, yep. And everybody's saying retired. You
No, I
retired?
Not yet.
No, but this when I decided I was with done coaching. When I started, my daughters Avery and Kennedy are 21 and 20 right now, and I said I was going to do it till they got out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
They've been out 2 years now, and it's just been in the back of my mind. So after this year, I gave it a little bit of time, and since 1980 when I started going to
Right.
high school and playing football to now, which would be this fall, be
Never
40,
had a fall
42
open.
years. I've counted 4 times that I have not been involved in football. So
Right.
as far as a fall, not being committed and doing what I want, it's going to be, that first time, the first week of not being there is going to be a little difficult, but it's like anything. It's an adjustment period.
I think it's like anything else in life. I think there's just a time and a place for
Oh, yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look back just locally here, when Coach Bob retired, everybody thought, oh yeah, how's he going to retire? How's he going to, and then he replaced it with something different.
They're going to be fine. Yeah, they know what they're doing there. So, and is there ever a good time just to step away? You always want to see this kid or the
Right.
next kid, and the next person's going to step in and do just
Yeah.
fine.
I would say it's almost like when your kids were in travel softball,
Yeah.
and the end of travel
You're ready to
softball
move
came,
on.
you moved on to something different. So I applaud you for all your dedication to that.
Thank you.
And we'll look for you Friday nights to still see you.
I'll be around.
We might be able to find
stay
a
away
job
for a
for
little
you.
bit here, but
Okay. Thank you very much, Dave. If you have anybody else you'd like to recommend to the show, numbers on the screen, 586-707-5811. And thanks to Dave, and we'll see you next time on In the Zone.
thanks, Craig.